What is up, YouTube? This is Nanashi with a brand new deck profile video. I haven't done one of these in a while. Mainly just because, well, if any of you follow my blog, you know why. But finally had a chance to sit down and work on my decks, and I have a new deck. It's my new light deck. Some of you may recall that this used to be my Melodious deck. I have temporarily, possibly, suspended that deck because it just wasn't doing what I was wanting it to do. So I thought I'd try something new, something different, something a little more fun for me. And this is what I ended up coming up with. Hopefully you guys will like where this goes. So starting out, we have 3 Mirror Ladybug. If you have no monsters in your grave, you can special it from hand, and then its level becomes equal to that of all other monsters you control. It does not include itself. But you have to control at least one monster to do it, so it's good for Xyz plays if you're starting out. Also 3 Bachi, level 3 insect. Xyz monster you summon using it as a material gives it piercing. Not really essential, but for this level 3 light insect deck, if I didn't tell you what it was already, this is kind of an essential until we can get a new card like, oh, I don't know, Galaxy Worm? 3 Digital Bug Cenobit. Yep, it's a Digital Bug deck. And of course, me being a purist for my archetypes, this is a pure light insect deck main. The extra deck's pure light, but it's still mostly insect. Anyways, Cenobit. If it switches to defense mode, by any means, you get to special summon a level 3 insect from your deck. And if used from Xyz material for a summon, it can attack all defense position monsters your opponent controls. Cocoon Denser. It has the effect that allows you to switch to turn it to defense mode and special summon a level 3 insect out of your grave. So, it's good for pickup Xyz. Also, it gives the effect of that if you attack with it, if it's used for the Xyz summon and you attack with it, the opponent can't activate anything. Gives it Ancient Gear effect. Then we have 3 Digital Bug Web Solder. One of my favorites. If it's on the field, you can turn any insect monster you control to defense. I'm sorry, any face-up attack position monster you control. And then you can special summon a level 3 insect from your hand. In defense, of course. And if this card uses Xyz material for a summon, all your opponent's monsters go to defense, and their defense becomes 0. That enables a lot of the combos with this deck, quite frankly. Moving into the spells, we have 3 copies of Inferno Reckless Summon. This card gives me so much advantage. The standard pair of MSTs, I'm actually going to be trading these out for Twin Twisters at some point, I hope. And yes, despite the fact that this is a light insect deck, the extra deck is still all light, so I am still using 7th one. This deck does not draw a lot, so 7th one is still live. Quite live, in fact. There's only 3 draw cards in the entire deck, and they don't draw much. You get most of your power from direct summons or searches. 3 copies of Stumbling. This is one of my favorite spell cards in the deck. Any monster summoned auto goes to defense. This helps out my deck a lot. Even if I play it on my first turn, my monster goes to defense, but so do all of theirs. So I still get combos. Standard Bottomless. 2 Bug Emergency. I've been iffy about this card since I put it in there, but it has helped me out, whether it's for Xyz or just for random sporadic defenses. You pull 2 level 3 insects out of your grave and special summon them, but their effects are negated. If this card's in the grave, you can banish it and an Xyz monster in your grave, an insect Xyz, and all level 3 insects you currently control become the same level as that banished Xyz monster's rank. So it's good to get those higher rank Xyz summons, but you're locked into only summoning insects. Debating on keeping this card at 2, but for right now 2 is fine. 3 Call of the Haunted, of course. I tend to combo this with Inferno Reckless Summon, obviously. But to be perfectly honest, sometimes I just use it to get out that Cenobit I need. 3 Jar of Avarice. This card is extremely important in this deck. Like I said, it doesn't do a lot of draw. This is the only way that it actually gets legitimate draws. The reason for this card existing in the first place is so that I can constantly use the Mirror Ladybug. Reason being is because you can't have any monsters in your grave if you want to be able to use its self-summoning effect. So that automatically makes it technically a bad card, Mirror Ladybug, but this card makes it better. 2 memory loss, of course, and this card's infinitely more valuable in this deck than any other deck I have because, well, you benefit from your opponent's monsters going to defense. 1 Mirror Force, 1 Torrential, and 2 Xyz Reborn. Funny thing is, this card is mainly used for the rank 3 and 5 digital bug Xyz monsters, mainly because they both have ways of reclaiming Xyz materials or grabbing new ones. And then we move into the extra deck, starting with Triple Giga-brilliant. This card's extremely good in this deck. It's an insect, rank 3, light, requires 2 level 3s, very conveniently good for this deck. Detach a material, and it gives all of them 300 attack points. Not a big deal, it's mainly just summon fodder for the upgrades. The true boss of the deck is Digital Bug's Radiator and its predecessors, or followers, I guess? Anyways, it is the monster form of memory loss. You detach both materials, negate the effects of an opponent's monster, and change its battle position. It could already be in defense mode, and this would switch it to attack mode, which might hurt them more. Just kind of depends. Now, it does target, though, which makes it slightly less valuable. But, if it destroys an opponent's monster by battle and sends it to the grave once per turn, you can take that monster and attach it to this card as an Xyz material. So, like I said, it has ways of regaining its materials. Then we have the rank 5 digital bug Core Beige. This card can be Xyz summoned by detaching 2 materials from a rank 3 insect Xyz monster you control, or rank 4, I guess, and otherwise you can summon it with 2 or more level 5 light insects. Once per turn, you can detach a material to send an opponent's defense position monster back to the deck, and it regains materials anytime a monster on the field changes its battle position. That includes itself. And in case you didn't notice, the attack and defense points all increase by increments of 400. It's a little something I found. It's just kind of a neat detail. And then their rank 7 upgrade, which is Digital Bug Rhinoceros. I hope I'm pronouncing that right. But you can summon it with 2 level 7 light insects, or you can detach 2 materials from a rank 5 or 6 insect type Xyz monster you control, and then lay this on top of it, just like with the rank 5 Core Beige. But its effect is that it can do piercing, and once per turn during either player's turn, so it's a quick effect, you can destroy all your opponent's monsters or monster that has the highest defense, that is in defense mode. I want to point out that this does not target, so that helps you out immensely. And of course, because 7th one's in here, I have the 2 102s and the C102. Just because if I happen to be in a situation where I need it, and I happen to top deck 7th one, which happens way more often than I ever expected it to, considering this deck does nothing but search and direct summon instead of drawing, aside from Jar of Avarice, I actually get this card out more often than I ever expected to. And then finally we have the extra deck. Not really a very good extra deck right now, but it's there. 3 Bug Matrix gives all the insects 300 more attack and defense, and once per turn you can attach an insect monster in your hand to it as a material, to an Xyz monster you control as a material. Not really the most valuable thing in the world, but it works. No terraformings for it right now because I just don't use this card. But also 2 Dark Hole, 2 level limit area Bees, rank up Magic Astral Force. Now this card's a lot more valuable in this deck than most people thought. It allows the upgrade from rank 5 to rank 7. Now I want to point out something special here. Usually, because of the way that they summon themselves, they have to detach multiple materials, which means that they are at a loss of their materials. This allows you to keep them. It's a bit more of a free upgrade. Then, of course, we have the MST, then the other copy of Bug Emergency, the Compulsory, the 2 Fiendish Chain, the Vanities, and the 3rd copy of Xyz Reborn. And that is the deck. Like I said, I wanted to try something a little different, something a little more fun, and I find this deck very fun. The deck is fairly fluid. It's not 100% infallible, but it is fairly fluid. I don't really have a way to dump out the copies of 7th one I start out with in my hand, or I accidentally draw, but that being said, it's not really an issue, because since this deck is so trap-heavy, it actually makes for good MST baits. There is one other flaw with this deck, and Well, actually, no, there's two. One, when you upgrade the Xyz monsters, they don't keep the digital bug and bachi effects as they upgrade. They only stick with the rank 3s. You upgrade them with anything else, with their own effects, or even 7th one, they lose those effect bonuses unless you use Bug Emergency. The second problem is that this deck desperately needs more monsters. It is so low on qualifying monsters, I've actually debated on using Electromagnetic Bagworm as an extra monster just to give it more fluidity for its card count. But there's supposed to be a card coming to America. It's an OCG exclusive. I think it's a Jump promo called Galaxy Worm. It's essentially tour guide for galaxies. But as of right now, no clue when it's going to come out, so this is the best that I could do with the build as it is. Hopefully you guys like the build. If you like it, leave a comment, like whatever you'd like to do, and I'll see you in the next video. This is Nanashi, signing out.